morning, everyone. Good morning. This is the regular meeting, a regular session of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors. We're also sitting as all special taxing districts, and this is December the 3rd, 2018, 9 a.m. meeting. Board members can attend either in person or by telephone. Everybody's here, so this is the call to order. The first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Would everybody please stand up? Supervisor McLeod, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Sure. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The first item in the agenda is called Call to the Public. Call to the Public is held for the public's benefit to allow individuals to address issues within the board's jurisdiction. Board members may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to Arizona revised statutes, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to criticism, or scheduling the matter for further discussion and decisions at a future date. On this item, I'm going to ask someone that, there's a large group of students that are attending the meeting this morning. Would somebody come up and give us a little bit of background on, the program itself and so on and so forth?
Yeah.
Is that too much? Yes, up here. We need your name, address, checking account number, social security number.
No, he's being silly. He does that all the time.
I'm a teacher. There's nothing in my checking account.
We just, we knew that already, but.
I'm retired. Shropshire. I am a teacher at Gila Vista Junior High. AVID stands for Advancement Via Individual Determination. Students apply for the program, and they are bound for college. It was started in 1980 by a woman who wanted to give everyone a chance to succeed in college. So the skills they develop starting from elementary now, we are the only city in the nation that has K through post-secondary AVID. You have it all the way through AWC. Starts in kindergarten, goes all the way through college. It focuses on WICR, which are the skills that the woman who started determined are necessary for college, which is writing academically, inquiry, asking questions. Collaboration is C, organization, and then reading for a college level. So they have a more rigorous curriculum in addition to their core classes, and they also have tutorials once a week where people from the colleges come and they're hired to help them facilitate questions they might be confused about in class. You have a great group here. This is a great group of 8th graders. This is our 8th grade AVID. This also dovetails nicely with their 8th grade social studies. So, was that sufficient?
Yes, that was
Thank
sufficient.
you. Yeah.
Yes.
Ms. Shropshire,
I forgot to tell you. I forgot to tell you, there's always a question.
Oh, good.
no, there's actually not a question.
Or a comment.
I've had the privilege of being in the classroom to observe the AVID program at work, and it's brilliant. I think it's a great way to learn. And for the students who are here today and those across the county that are involved in the AVID program, I commend you for putting yourself out there, and you're joining something is going to make you work harder than you have to. And you're investing in your future. So congratulations on that. And thank you for running the program. I think it's outstanding.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And on this item, call to the public, is there anyone else in the public that would like to address the board on items that aren't in the agenda? If not, we will move on then. I'll leave the call to the public item open until the end of the meeting in case someone comes in a little later. On the next item, it's the presentations, proclamations, and appointments. During this segment of the agenda, board members may discuss the presentations and proclamations and may announce appointments to the Yuma County Planning and Zoning Commission and the Yuma County Board of Adjustment. We won't take any legal action. Are there any appointments from the member? I don't think we have any vacancies, so unless somebody quit, I didn't know about it. No, nothing. All right, then we'll move on then to a presentation of the Yuma County line by Yuma 77, the Yuma County Government Channel.
GIS Day by sharing with young people. The Hawk will be landing on Avenue B in Yuma. And a test to save money will have you seeing things differently at 2 different intersections. These stories and more, this is your County Line. about Geographic Information Systems, or GIS, many people may not understand its importance to their everyday lives, especially young people. That's why our GIS staff like to use World GIS Day to visit local schools, as they did recently. It was a visit to Roosevelt Elementary School.
We went to see if we could spark an interest, early on in their education in the field of geography, specifically GIS. So that was our goal, to hopefully spark an interest in them and go from there.
The young people learned the importance of GIS to their county government and community. Crop productivity, disease control, crop forecasting, mapping, those are just a few of the thousands of applications for GIS. If you're interested in what your county government is doing in the world of GIS, you can check them out at yumacountyaz.gov/GIS. As we reported to you last spring, a new signal will soon be operational at the intersection of 5th Street and Avenue B. It's a first for your county government. With the increasing population in many parts of Yuma County comes more crowded streets, and not just vehicle traffic. Pedestrians using the sidewalks and crosswalks has multiplied greatly. We know this because county engineers monitor these things in order to keep us safer. And that's why traffic at 5th Street and Avenue B became an area of focus. So a traffic study was conducted at this intersection. It was revealed that by federal standards, a new traffic signal light was not recommended. But the county decided that due to the amount of pedestrians, a pedestrian hybrid beacon, also known as a HAWK system, would be installed.
It allows pedestrians to be able to cross, obviously, this 5-lane roadway safely with having vehicles stopped.
The new HAWK system was approved by your Board of Supervisors last spring. The system is in place and is expected to be operational this week. Many homeowners are making big changes in some of the technology in their homes in order to save money. Your county government is always searching for the same, and soon our Public Works Department will begin cost saving with light. It's something many people have done inside their homes, swapping their old incandescent light bulbs with newer energy-efficient LED technology. Soon, county crews will be swapping some high-pressure sodium bulbs used as streetlights with newer LED lights. The change is far more cost-effective for a variety of reasons, and the light that is emitted is far superior for driving conditions.
The LED is a lot brighter light. The sodium, they're known for their light the quality is not there. It's not that good. It's more of a yellowish time. So once they go LED, it's a lot brighter, it's a lot clearer, almost like the daylight.
Residents near Avenue 3E and County 15th Street, along with Fortuna Road and 35th Street, will see the change in coming weeks. Both intersections are being tested for cost savings and reduced maintenance. After the testing phase, the county will evaluate expanding the project. The Yuma Health District Women, Infant, and Children Nutrition Program is available to those who cannot afford health care. Let's take a look at this program to see what it provides, who's it for, how you qualify, and what benefits there are.
WIC is actually for women, infants, and children. Women are pregnant, breastfeeding, or postpartum. Children up to the age of 5. We do all of the scheduling from one phone number. We have satellite agencies in San Luis, in Somerton, in Welton, and O.C. Johnson Elementary School. We provide nutrition counseling. We have registered dietitians on board. We provide supplemental foods. We have an eWIC card that we load the benefits on, and all the family has to do is simply go to their grocery store and cash in the benefits. We provide breastfeeding support. We also have international board certified lactation consultants. We're not a handout, we're a hand up. We're here to help. It is not a welfare program, it's health care.
You can learn more about WIC by navigating to yumacountyaz.gov.
I'm Elia Juarez, and this is your library update. it's time to clear out those old library finds by clearing out your pantry and helping others in need. Food for Fines is starting up again on the 3rd of December at all of the Yuma County libraries. What you can do is bring in a 10-ounce or larger can of non-perishable food, make sure that it has a clear label and a clear expiration date on it, and make sure it's not expired. For each can that you bring in, we'll take off $1 in overdue fees. You have until December 15th to get in your cans. For more information on this or any of our other programs, you can stop by your closest branch or find us online at yumalibrary.org.
Before we head out, just a quick reminder about the upcoming holiday schedule. Remember, Tuesday, December 25th and Tuesday, January 1st are both holidays. Most of the county offices will be closed so that our employees can enjoy the holiday season with their families. We'd like to thank you for joining us for this County Line. If you'd like to watch past episodes, log on to yumacountyaz.gov/VOD. And don't forget, you can join us live on Facebook. We'll see you next time on December 17th, the last County Line of 2018.
All the lights come back on. Okay, so that it's the presentation of the County Line by Yuma 77. Before we leave presentations, I'd like to, I forgot this, but I'd like to introduce my wife who's sitting in the audience there. Sandy Hayes. And, just want to make sure I acknowledge that.
Oh, you're going to get it
Yeah,
later.
yeah. I do want to get home tonight. Anyway, the next item is the consent calendar. In the consent calendar, the items are listed under the consent agenda, and they will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion unless a board member so requests. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. I'll entertain a motion to either approve the consent calendar as in a whole, or, if anyone wants to pull an item, this is the time.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to pull item 5.
Item 5. All right, so is there a motion to approve the consent calendars, items 1 through 6, with the exception of 5?
So moved.
Is there a second? Then a motion and second to approve consent calendars, items 1 through 6, with the exception of item number 5. All those in favor of, any discussion? No? All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries, so that means that items 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 have been approved. We'll take on item number 5. It's the Sheriff's Office item. It's to appoint Patty Ogden for a 2-year term on the following local boards for the Yuma County Sheriff's Office: the Public Safety Personal Retirement System Board and the Corrections Officers Retirement Plan Board, with terms effective January the 1st, 2019 through December 31st, 2020. Supervisor Simmons?
Mainly, I just wanted to recognize Patty Ogden for stepping up and coming in and filling this position. Also, Ms. Brenna Paulin, who's retiring from the PSPRS board. She's got over 20 years on that board. Wow. So I just wanted to recognize her for all of her work that she's done over the years on that board, as well as the Corrections Officer Retirement Boards. So mainly, like I said, I just wanted to recognize her for all of her work, her years of work to that board.
Yeah, and it's work, unpaid work, it's volunteer work. So, really that's the kind of work that should be, more than appreciated, because, this public service at its highest level. So we'd like to thank her for serving those years, and I obviously recognize the last name Ogden, and thank Patty for continuing the labor that her husband did for so many years.
Nice to see her.
Nice to see
staying
her
active.
Staying active, exactly.
So
item number 5, is there a motion to approve as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve item number 5 as presented. Any discussion on the item? No discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The motion carries. The next item in the agenda is discussion and action item. And this, the board will open each of the following items separately for discussion and action as appropriate. The first item is Development Services Engineering, and in accordance with Arizona Revised Statutes, we will conduct an auction at 9 a.m. or as schedule permits on Assessors Parcel 728-03-028, a county-owned excess parcel, and authorize the county engineer to execute the documents transferring the property to the highest bidder or at or above the minimum bid. If there are no successful bids, we'll continue this item and authorize the county engineer to return this item to the board when there is sufficient interest to conduct an auction. All right. It's been pulled?
Yeah.
There's no
It's
bidders.
okay, I just wanted to practice in front of the kids, you know, I just wanted to practice. We would be conducting an auction at this time, but, oh, this is fortunate for you guys that I went through this, otherwise there would be very little in the agenda to discuss. Yeah,
So, Mr. Chair, if I could, we learned late Friday that the person who indicated they were interested in this parcel to conduct the auction has now said they are withdrawing their interest in the parcel. So there's no one to really bid on the item, so we want to pull it and we'll bring it back when we do have sufficient interest in the property.
I now see the, pull the item out form. All right, well, I was just getting, you know, warmed up with the kids in here, and I wanted to do more things so they could see government in action somehow. Well, kids, we would have conducted a public auction, would have been nice to do it, but the person that was interested pulled out, and so we won't do that. And the next item in the agenda is also a little bit special because it's an addendum item. It is something that was posted, let me see, I gotta find it now. Yeah, here it is. It's an item that was posted late because it wasn't ready for, initially it wasn't available to discuss before, so it was posted as an addendum. This is an addendum to the agenda, and it's for county administration. It's discussion and possible action to provide a cash match in support of the Yuma County Yuma Airport Authority grant application to the U.S. Department of Transportation for air service to Denver, Colorado. That's right. The vice chairman here is, you know, because of you, all of you here, you know, listening to us, you know, he wanted me to explain a little bit what the posting requirements are based on statute. So I'm going to let him do it himself.
Oh.
So, go ahead, do it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just thought you might be interested. You noticed the chairman talked about posting. We have in Arizona the open meeting law, also referred to as sunshine laws, so that all of the deliberations that we have as a body, the public knows ahead of time. And the agenda was prepared last week, and this came up late in the week. And so the chairman asked that this item be put on. That meant the staff had to post the item. There's a board out front where this agenda item, it was posted, and it has to be posted 24 hours in advance of our meeting. If it's not, we can't discuss it. So that's what posting means, and it's to inform the public what we'll be deliberating at any particular meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, it's to give people enough time, if they're interested in the item, to show up and be part of the discussion. All right, so we posted the item correctly, and so we're now ready to discuss it. It is a county administrator item, so I'm going to let Administrator Susan Thorpe to go ahead and open the item up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chairman, members of the board, the Yuma Airport Authority had contacted me last week about this particular request. And in order for it to be considered, we did need to post it as an addendum, and the chairman agreed to do that. So I have asked the airport executive director to be here to talk about this issue and to kind of make the case for the cash match and to explain more about what they're doing with their grant application to the U.S. Department of Transportation. So I'd like to ask Gladys Brown to come forward.
Good morning, Chairman Reyes. Nice to see you, and Board of Supervisors. So what we've done in past years, so the Small Community Air Service Development Grant, which is also the acronym SCATSD, is what they provide to non-hub, non-primary or primary through the United States Department of Transportation. And it's a revenue, it's basically a revenue guarantee. It doesn't mean that they're going to exercise it unless that airline or that air carrier doesn't meet the minimum revenue in which they projected. So the Department of Transportation will provide this grant. If you are awarded, they'll provide that grant in full. And then at the end of that year, so they can only do it up to 2 years, depending on the stipulation of the contract that we'll hold with them, they'll provide that match. But what they look at when they're in the consideration process for each airport, they look and see, do you actually have a community that's involved? Do you have people that are contributing? Who's going to contribute? So they go from the city, the county, businesses in which would use the air service, and then that determines, one, the amount that the DOT will provide, but then it also will stipulate and actually determine the decision in which they'll go and allow it. So it's between 5 and 8 airports each year, or when they let the actual grant or award out. And from what we know, that they're going to provide that public notice this month in December. And so they only give you a window in the registry to, I mean, just like the county does, there's a window in that registry in which you have to go and provide that, but you have to provide the document. So one, we're looking at a letter of support that just says, not that the county says we're going to use and do the air, I mean, use that air carrier guaranteed. It just says that we're in support and understand what critical component that airline or that route will serve. And then the second part of it is if there's consideration for any form of cash donation, or what you want to say as far as support. And of course, we stipulated that, and I know Susan may go over that. We did request that if the county could provide or look at 25,000, but any amount in which could help support that, and that would go towards our actual match as the authority as well. So the authority has to go and provide that. The community has their level of support, and the DOT does the majority of the actual supplemental. And it is not the essential air service. So it's not what you see in Imperial. So I want to make sure that people understand that those are two different types of programs. This is something that gets earmarked in the federal government for for air service, but it's meant for airports that already have service that are looking to have additional service. Coincidentally, into the addendum, of course, we are focusing on Denver, but I will tell you that based on my conversation on Friday with a specific air carrier, they actually asked me about San Francisco. So since we haven't went and provided that scope just yet, we are looking at either Denver or San Francisco. And San Francisco seemed to be more of their focus. They did ask about Los Angeles, but I just know how Los Angeles is framing itself. I just don't think that that's as feasible for the size aircraft that they're having to go in there. So with that said, I'm also looking at that when you create the action, if it's something that you want to consider, that we don't just limit in the county when you use your action item as Denver, but new air service to a new route, possibly Denver or San Francisco. I will tell you that this air service provider is different than American, and that they do have a feasibility to be very, they're easy to enter into our market, but I do believe that they want to see our level of community support as well. And they also provide their own letter of support. So I actually have an air carrier that actually is going to give their actual letter of support as well.
All right. First of all, I'd like to start by congratulating you personally, because of all the accolades you've received. And it's not just lately. I mean, you've been doing that ever since you came to us. So we don't get much of a chance to see you up in front of us, but I'm sure that most of the board members are aware just how it improved that the operations are at the airport, and I just want to make sure we get that out. Second, when we discussed this initially, we could put it as an amendment to the agenda. The item that came to mind to me is the limitations that we have as county to provide cash assistance to anyone in terms of the legal ramifications of that. But we discussed it as an economic development incentive process. So I think that that should cover us legally, because I think that that's the way we're going to frame it. So Paul is behind you, way out there, and he's our new economic development director. I hope are you involved in the process, Paul? Yet, but you will be if this goes on. Yeah, congratulations, and here it is.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Paul Melcher. It's a long title, so
yeah.
Practice it.
Yes.
Okay.
I've already put him to work.
But yes, as directed by the county administrator, I'd be involved in this process, either as the follow-up or any assistance that we need to provide. So.
All right. Are we okay then? Legally, we're okay.
Yeah, we've our initial review. We believe this is appropriate. And you need to understand also that the Yuma International Airport and the Airport Authority itself is a public entity under Title 28 due to the way we set our lease up. So the gift clause may not necessarily fall under this type of development need, although it may fit. So I would recommend, if you choose to approve it today, to go ahead and approve it. And if you want to make it subject to further legal review, we'll continue to review it and make sure it's correct.
Just as long as we can do it properly. I mean, it's the way we describe it, cash. That's if it had said a $25,000 incentive amount or something, but we describe it as cash, and that's always a worrisome term.
Right.
To do that.
Our initial reaction was, it's probably a lot cheaper for you to give a match than try to operate the airport as the county
no,
itself.
I will tell you that you may be correct in that.
All right, well,
And
I'm
you'd
going to
have
open
to
it
hire
up
a new
to the,
council to advise them as well. So.
not that I need to, but I'm going to open it up to the rest of the board in case they have a comment or a question.
Of course.
Of course, there is a question. Yeah.
A series of them. So I have some concerns, quite frankly, that we open up another market and then dilute what we have, and it doesn't work well for anybody. You know, can you, and you know, what destinations does it open up that we wouldn't have available now?
So the way that air service works is that today, with new numbers ran, we have about 60% of our population in which leak, that go somewhere else. They go between to Phoenix or San Diego, and we have about less than 4% that do LAX. So those are commuters. That means they actually leave our market. Their zip code is linked to our county, and they actually go somewhere else. So when you think of that saturation of our population in which leaves, that's where they can capitalize. DFW is set to maybe take in about 10 to 20%. So there's still 40% of the market in which can utilize that service. So they try not to cannibalize or look at pulling from Americans' number. They actually look at what's called a Purdue, a passenger daily expectancy of employments. And so they go and they run the statistics through the Department of Transportation, and it's a tracking. So if they don't see that the market is feasible, they won't even enter into the market. And that's also why it takes 5 to 10 years in order for a new service to be established, even routes. So when you're looking at that DFW flight that we did for Dallas, that's 4 years in the making. 4 years of trending and statistical data. For us, with the Denver, because American has now stopped their connection and alliance with the Canadian air carrier, this new air carrier has a direct connection with Air Canada, so that the person in our population is able to connect and then have that fluid happen. It goes Denver and then up into the Canadian region, but they would go and transfer onto Air Canada. American used to do that, and they used to have a code share with WestJet. And so those individuals is what left our 8%, which we used to have only 52% of leakage. Now we have 60, and that just happened in this last 12 months of the 8% in which left. On top of that, we're one of the highest as far as Canadian-based international travel. We were actually in like 29 to 30 passengers in which have flown, and now we're down to 12 because of that alliance in which has now left with American. So when you look at the population and what they're doing, they're not going to they won't cannibalize on today's numbers. They actually grow and grab those who are actually leaving. So that's just one aspect of the business. And I always tell people in air service, there's so much trending and lots of watching, and then also where the alliances are built, the consolidations are built, and that's also how I go and approach different airlines. So this air carrier understands our Northwest Passage, but then they also understand our agribusiness, and so they're very interested in that, and they also know that we have some connections into over into Europe and Asia as well. So that's why they actually were interested in San Francisco. So having those two, of course, I try to we'll take two then, but I think that there's no doubt that they're looking at either one. The goal is never to take current passenger numbers from who's traveling today, and if they have to do that, then they won't enter into the market.
All right.
Okay, great. I appreciate that.
Mr. Chair, Gladys, could you turn around and tell the kids who you are and what you do?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
So my name is Gladys Brown. I'm actually the airport director. I have 2 airports, Yuma International Airport, and then we also have a smaller airport called Raleigh Airfield in the city of San Luis. My undergraduate is actually in mechanical engineering. So yes, it's good for you guys. You guys make sure you keep doing it. And I ended up getting my MBA later down the line. I will tell you that I was raised in a socioeconomic school environment in city. My mother was a housekeeper, and she became a United States citizen just a little bit over 3 years ago. My father got his GED and went into the Navy. I was the first of 4 children to go to college. I graduated at the age of 22. I actually worked for a Fortune 500 company out of college, went into the big industry. I took a break when I started a family, and I became a high school teacher. Then my former ended up joining the Marine Corps, and I found my way into Yuma, and I got my first opportunity with a local firm here as a civil engineer, and then was introduced to the airport. And I will tell you that being organized, having a purpose, having goals, prioritizing what you're doing, and knowing that you need a team to do great things is what you can do. And that you can always come back here because we need great people like you to help us one day enjoy our lives and retire, but also help you be very successful. So we're all here for you. And if you try to calculate my age, it'll be a lot of fun. So go ahead and try. With that, I would tell you that never give up. Remember what you're dreaming about, and then keep at it, because that's what life's about. So have fun while you're doing it too, right? No peer pressure. I always tell people that too. It's easy to walk away, and when that friend will do what they do, you make the decision to do the right thing, and you can do it. Okay? I don't care what it is that you're going to do. You can do it. All right. And if you ever see me, just run up to me, because I will hang out with you, no problem. So there you go. Sorry, that was very fast, but
Thank you, though.
yeah,
Thank
no,
you.
and she knows I do a lot of things. I volunteer, so I started volunteering when I was 9. So you're never too early to volunteer. So always volunteer, and that's my other practice that I preach.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes.
Well, thank you. That got you the last vote for this project. Thank you. Any other- you
yeah,
could
I-
continue. Yeah,
I do
he's
want
got
to tell
more
you guys
questions.
that practicing audit and principles in auditing, of course, your attorneys and your team are very, very good. We abide by laws in which he stated as an independent agency in which operates, and so we understand how money is appropriated. We also, sitting with Susan and her former predecessor, I completely understand in which the county has limitations, and so we'll work through that together, but at the same time form it so that we ensure that the air service provider understands the level of support within the community, and that's what we're getting to, and we want to make sure that we operate under the jurisdiction in which you have to operate in your statutes.
And we support the operations.
Oh,
of the-
absolutely.
So always have.
And I
Always
will
have. Yeah.
pass along your compliments to our team. I will tell you, on behalf of the authority, I have a wonderful board, and I have an extraordinary, wonderful team. And so everything you see, there are only 21 of us that make all of that happen, from Raleigh Airfield to Yuma International. So with Jen and our staff, I will tell you that I could never be where I'm at today without that level of support from our community, and especially with my team.
Well, I agree with your board, with the exception maybe of Russ Jones. Yeah, but-
No. He takes some good notes. Make him a secretary every time. No, just kidding.
Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That's probably the only way to keep him from talking. Sorry.
I had a couple of more things. Number one, the money that Yuma County would pledge toward this, would Yuma County be able to retain that money until such time as it was perhaps needed, or does that money need to be
Correct.
outlaid?
No, correct. You can, the way it can be in which it is because we don't know when that will be let, and when we actually get the air service established. You guys, as long as we have this action item, then you can exercise that, and then your administration will be able to track it from there. So again, it's just in the board action, from my understanding, then they have the authority to exercise it when it's time. However, we'll make sure that the authority comes in and tells you exactly what we're doing, and it's going to be exciting regardless. So I think too, if they meet their markers and their revenues, then that money in which we do will go towards programs in which can help promote those services or do what's necessary in order for them to be successful. But again, we will make sure that you can see exactly what it goes through or goes to and what it's doing when that time comes.
And then just for the board and for yourself, you know, this would be money that was not budgeted. Personally, I'm not real comfortable with a $25,000 figure. I'm probably comfortable at around 10. And I think you had made the statement that, you know, anything helps. I would assume that if we came in at 10, it has just almost as much clout. And at least it's telling the carrier, look, our local, county board is in support. So for me, I'd be more comfortable at that level. That's a discussion for the board, but I just wanted to put that out there and make sure that a number like that would meet your goals.
I would say yes, and then also in addition to that is the pledge to do the public service announcements, and then be able to inform the public of services in which are now available, and those things also have a value to them as well. So If you allow your administration and your staff to be able to do that, the county to do that, then I believe that we can, again, place that into some form of value to that air carrier as we promote it. And I think that that's a very...
Mr. Chair.
I would be very comfortable with that.
Mr. Chair.
Sure.
Mr. Chair, Susan, can I ask Susan a question?
Sure.
Susan, where's that money coming from, and where would, you know?
In this current year, the fiscal year 18-19 budget, the board adopted a budget that included a non-departmental line item for economic development of $100,000. Thus far, you have committed we entered into an incentive agreement with Gourmet Gardens, and that was a total of $89,000 over 5 years. The year one is $2,000. That's a commitment from that $100,000 line item. And then the second commitment was the spaceport study at $5,000, which we shared with 5 other entities. So at this point, the commitment from that $100,000 is $7,000 that you've spent from that amount. So there is that line item that you purposely set aside for these kinds of opportunities, but of course the amount is up to the board.
Right, so.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair and Susan, so for the 18-19 budget, we've got plenty to give them $25,000.
The money is available, but it's just the board's decision on what the amount would be.
All right, any other board
I have
members?
one more question.
Sure.
Mr. Chair and Gladys, does it make a huge difference between 10 and 25,000 as our commitment? I mean,
So, I would say, and because I have a board as well, if the board was comfortable to say up to the 25,000 pending available funds in that stated line item for the budget, then we can work through that because it's a duration of 12 to 24 months. And so if we need to, we could of course work, and if they come to us, then we can say, what exactly are they looking for too? So again, we go through a negotiation process in that, and so it does help. So as we work through it, and Jen, I know she works very, very hard for me to get all this together to with our community leaders. The reality is any higher amount is always great. I mean, it's the way it looks when we present it. But I would tell you just the fact that we have municipalities that are in support of an entity like ours, the way it's set up is a wonderful thing. So it's what you're comfortable with and what you guys are going to provide action to.
All right, so we have a range of 10 to 25. So any of the other board members have any comments? No? Mr. Borges? Simmons? I'd go for 20.
good. Can we compromise and go for 20?
Sure. I mean, it's up to the motion.
That would be 17.5.
Yeah.
Just round it up. So anyway, I need a motion anyway to get the discussion going. So the motion is going to be what? The motion is to support the efforts of the Yuma County Airport Authority in securing additional funds to open up a new service. And the motion is
to either San Francisco or Denver.
I don't think we need to be that specific.
Okay, we don't have.
We don't need to be that specific. I think that will be more, it's like up to a certain amount.
Up to and not to exceed 20,000. Can we do that?
20,000 is fine.
How about including in-kind?
Okay?
Including
It
in-kind.
makes it very difficult now to determine. In-kind is a different term. I mean, it has to be.
For this one,
I
we
hate to
need
call it
that.
cash,
We
but
need
it
the
has to be
cash.
a
We need
cash
the correct.
Yeah. All right. So do you want to make that motion?
I move that.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Oh yeah, there's a motion and a second to provide that $20,000 cash incentive in support of the airport authority's application for a grant to provide additional services. There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? You can still discuss it.
Yeah. I think I can be comfortable with that. I think it is important that we show the support.
It is.
And a 60% leakage, if I understand that correctly, so the industry reports back based upon ticket sales across any number of airlines, and they're using the zip code of the passenger, and they're able to report back, this is how many people flew out of Yuma, and this is how many people flew from nearby locations.
So within 60 miles. So within 60 miles of our location, They go and they look at all of the zip codes, and then the DOT has a database in which we pull from. And then I have a whole consultant team that goes and takes it, interpolates it, and then places what air carrier, I mean, it gets down to the specifics, what air carrier to what location, what's the percentage, how many passengers per day, what the total ticket fares are in there, what's the difference between the total ticket airfares, and then on top of that, how many that we could actually go, and then we then calculate what they can go and get as a result of capturing those passengers to which location. And then for me, I'm not looking seasonal, even though I'll take seasonal. I'd like it year-round service, even if it's 1 or 2 times. So we're proposing 2 times a day, in and out. So, and then having 2 flights, and then that would be something advantageous for them. And they did. I mean, they're most definitely considering. We missed the first set with this group because they were looking at entering into 15 new markets. So I will tell you guys, as a county, what made it one of the things that pulled them away from us is when you go online and look at the unemployment numbers, they actually said that made them actually take us off the table. So we went up there with the whole objective to clarify why those numbers are the way they are. And then now they're a lot more comfortable in understanding that. Also knowing that we were trending for the past years as one of the 1 and 2 spots of the highest unemployment in the nation, we had to clarify and understand and help them understand why that is as well, in which we did and were very successful in. So we walked away with that, and typically I only get 15 minutes with them. They gave me 2 hours, and I got 15 minutes. That's usually what I get with them, and they gave me 2 hours. So we got a lot of time to get to know them, and they brought in their San Francisco planner too. So I was lucky that I got the attention that I did receive, and then understanding they actually allowed us to tell them what our market and why our market looked the way it did. And at the end, they felt very comfortable to reconsider and then reevaluate our county, and then that catchment outside of that. There's a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of convincing. And then on top of that, when they come here, I have to show them what we can do.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
and Gladys, did you talk to them about our seniors and our winter visitors?
Absolutely. So I don't call them visitors, I call them residents.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Because we actually have worked with the county to go and look at those who have homes, and it's very impressive. On top of that, we try to make sure that they understand what they do for our economy, but it's not just only in the winter months that they actually come back to do other things. And then so we introduce to them to the medical tourism side of our community. So there's a lot of education that goes in, and then guess what? They then transition. So then I have to do this at least 4 times a year to then hopefully get them to understand again every time what our county and then our outlining in those counties around us can do too.
If I may.
Sure.
Gladys, the 60-mile radius obviously brings in much of Imperial County. Do they believe that we'll draw from there instead of having those folks just jump over the mountain to San Diego?
Absolutely. So for the past few years, our team has tried to be very sensitive that they were trying to grow their market there with their essential air service. And then over the past 1.5 years, we've been reestablishing great relationships and going to their fairs or college events, just to kind of introduce what our airport does, and then also make us known in their community through their chamber. And then just working what we have here, but also promoting their air service as they're struggling to go and establish that. One of the things that our air service interest folks don't take into mind is the country of Mexico, where they are absolutely looking for a place, a destination. So a place like a Denver or San Francisco, where it's actually where they can go to enjoy and a resort or wonderful events are of interest. And so then now linking tourism on both ends. And so our goal as the airport is, once we establish new services, to get the tourisms on both ends to communicate and then cross promote. I think the only way that we can do and be successful in business in rural communities is through joint venturing. And that I always tell people, $1 is better than $0. And even if it's not my dollar, that dollar then multiplies in the community. So understanding that economics of it. And then also, as you can see, we do creative financing that is most definitely legit and ready to go and meets those audit criteria. That's one of the things that we have to do inside of airports to be sustainable. Rural airports are the majority in the nation, except when it comes to monetary achievements, you have 35 airports that are large that capitalize in the billions because they're large airports. but there's over 200 rural regional airports that struggle to maintain or keep service. So our community should be very proud that we've had service since the 1970s, and that today we still maintain service with the #1 legacy carrier in the world. As we go and advance ourselves, we have to keep that in mind, that we have to maintain service today, and that's why I don't cannibalize on those other numbers, and I look at service that makes sense, not service of convenience.
Well,
Thank you.
I can tell you that was my #1 concern. I was very concerned and probably against this, but I think you did a good job of answering that. So I feel much more comfortable. Thank you.
All right. If he feels comfortable, it's done deal.
He'll get me later. Don't worry.
Just kidding.
His grandchildren are around our children playing sports, so I see him all the time. I think he follows me. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we've had plenty of discussion on this item. I'm going to take a vote. No more discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye. And the motion again is to provide 20,000, okay? All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. So thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you.
All right, that takes care of the discussion and action item addendum. So we'll now move on to event calendar, current events. We will hear from board members and county administrator, they will report on may discuss events attended or to be attended on behalf of the county. They may present a brief summary of current events and may update the schedule for future board of supervisors meeting as appropriate. No legal action will be taken. Supervisor Pancracy, would you please get it going?
Yes, I attended the city of Somerton swearing in of their new city council. And I have to tell you guys, the young man who is now the mayor of Somerton, Jerry, what's Jerry's last name? Anaya? Anaya. Yeah, I knew that. Okay. Grew up in Somerton and then went to ASU, got his degree in engineering, and now he is back working for the city of Yuma, and he is the new mayor of the same city that he grew up in. So it was a really uplifting ceremony that at the city of Somerton, because a majority of those that are now on the council are kids who grew up, went away, and came back. So I love it. Anyway, I also went to a meeting called Code, COAD, but it's all the providers, emergency services in the community, and I learned quite a bit from that meeting about some of the emergency services that this group works on. I attended the ribbon cutting for the Mesa Heights apartments right over there by your place. They are gorgeous. Those apartments are absolutely gorgeous. And they are going to really help this community a great deal. So I attended that, and Bernie,
Quiroz.
thank you. Bernie Quiroz was the MC, and he also was a kid that grew up here in Yuma, went away, got his degree, and came back. So it's cool. I went to the Yuma Community Food Bank's 40th birthday celebration the evening last Saturday or Friday night, and it was held in the warehouse of the food bank. It was quite an event. It was exciting to see. And of course, I continue to serve on grand jury every Thursday through January. So, and that's it.
Busy. All right. Supervisor McLeod?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I attended the Farming in the Desert presentation at Arizona Western College. And Mr. Paul Brierly, Bruce Wynn, and John Belt did an outstanding job of presenting to auditoriums. It was pretty packed with students, and explaining to them the opportunities that we have in our public school system at Arizona Western College and beyond. Tremendous opportunities in farming is not what you think of it from the pictures you might have seen when you're growing up. It is very, very high tech and tremendous opportunities for engineering, science. It is amazing what's being done and what's being developed here. Yuma is really in the middle of it. A lot of exciting stuff going on. So I appreciate each of those gentlemen. They're very busy, and they gave their time to put on a great presentation. I also attended the City of Somerton City Council swearing in. As Supervisor Pancrase mentioned, Mayor Naya is taking over, and Mayor Yepes, what a legacy. Amazing number of years that he's been serving that community. I know that he was sad to step aside, but he's going to be very supportive. And Somerton is really coming alive. It's great to see. You mentioned Fernie Quiros. I was not able to make it to the Mesa Heights ribbon cutting. I had wanted to go, but was unable to make it. But just thought I would mention for our students in the room, 25 years ago, Fernie Quiros and I were in a program called Yuma Leadership. And that's where I got to know Fernie. So when those type of opportunities open up for you to be involved and learn about your community, I recommend that you do them, because you never know who you're going to meet and how important those contacts may serve you throughout the rest of your life. And so Fernie's dedicated a lot of time to this community. I'm glad I got to know him and quite a number of other people as well. So those opportunities come along from time to time, and I highly recommend that you take advantage of them. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Welcome. Supervisor Simmons.
Just want to thank everybody for the condolences and well wishes on the passing of my father here recently. Also, trying to get back in the swing of things, attended the Caballeros tree lighting ceremony back it was Saturday after Thanksgiving, and also had a public safety retirement board meeting, and that's about it.
Supervisor Porches.
I also attended the swearing in of the new mayor and the city council in Somerton, so it was very nice, and thank you, Russell and Lynn, for attending. I don't know what the chair was, but
in a funeral. I would have
sorry,
exchanged that at any time.
But it was nice, and I want to thank you all for being here. I'm glad that you're looking forward to learning how government works. So thank you. Thanks to the teachers.
All right. I also attended the Mesa Heights ribbon cutting. That's a $14 million project in an area of the city that really needed it.
Yes,
I think
it is.
that's going to bring that area back. It's the linchpin, I would say, of a lot of stuff that's
Bring
supposed to
back
happen
that
in that area.
that area,
And
Mesa Heights area.
it has a particularly different story because of that that fire that happened a few months ago, and how difficult it was to get that project started, and how difficult it was to get the project finished. But it was so heartwarming to see the future residents or the residents there talk about what an impact that has in their lives, and it was particularly important to me because I think it helps change the perception that public housing has, that we always hear bad things about the public housing part, but we don't hardly ever get to see or hear all the success stories that come from being able to provide people with a safe, clean, decent place to live. And so it was nice to take part of that. And going back to the events attended and not attended, I did not attend the swearing-in ceremony of Jerry, the mayor, because I was at a funeral in Mexicali at the time. I had a real close family friend that died, and it gives me an opportunity to talk a little bit about Ed Pastor and his passing.
Yes.
And I know it's been years since Ed represented us, but when he did an excellent job, a great job. I think he was one of those guys that you wouldn't know if it was a D or an R next to his name, because he would treat everybody and anyone the same way. But I'll be remiss if I didn't mention that there was a lot of animosity from the Yuma folks, because when Ed showed up in the county, he would stop at San Luis first. And there was a reason for that. We always told him it was his second home, and so it was pretty difficult for me in particular to see him pass. I did attend. He was at the Capitol. His body lay in state in the Capitol yesterday, so I had a chance to go out there and pay my respects. Me and my wife traveled to the Capitol yesterday to pay our respect, and it's heartwarming to see the long line of people waiting to go by his casket. So it was just a difficult week. But anyway, on the lighter side and on the bigger side, there was a comment made to me about some, I mean, not some, but about other supervisors that they would like to see us go into a cycle of reports from elected officials, the assessors, the treasurer, the recorder, even the sheriff. I think that next year we're going to schedule them to come in at least, one every month to give us an update on where they're at and what they're doing and so forth, so that we get a different sense. I think that the only time we really get to see them and talk to them is when they're coming in for the budget work sessions. And at that particular time, I'm sure that it's not a very comfortable situation to be in. So, maybe if we could just get them in here and get a sense of where they're at, what they're doing, and, those kind of things would help us sort of understand a little better when they're out here asking for something. So I'm going to direct staff to make sure that next year, that happens, okay? And that's it. Susan? Oh, excuse me. Go ahead.
Can I
If you
have
can
one more
indulge me
comment?
for
Sure.
a minute, please. I forgot about this earlier when I was speaking. I'm frequently asked, what made you run for your position, your elected position here on the Board of Supervisors? And it dawned on me that when I was in high school, as freshman, I believe, that I was summoned to the office, and don't know how I was selected, but I was privileged to go on a tour of our city. And during that tour, the mayor took us into their council chambers, which still exists over on First Street, and was explaining about his job and what he does. And I looked around that room, saw all the seats, and saw that dais, just like this one, and thought, wow, that's really cool. I want to do that someday. So if something like that intrigues you, I once was out there just like you. You can do that if you put your mind to it and you plan and you focus and educate yourself. You can do that someday too. So anything you put your mind to, you can do it. I'm privileged to be here, and I understand the privilege, and
Yeah.
it's really, really rewarding. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, he forgot the pay. It's great pay.
Yeah, Mr.
Supervisor
I'm sorry.
Pancrase.
I wanted to mention that the Mesa Heights has a community center. There is a community center within Mesa Heights where you can hold meetings. There's also a learning lab in that area with Wi-Fi connection, so that students who live in that area and that community can go in and do their homework on those with Wi-Fi connections on the computers. And Mr. Chairman, I was involved in student council in high school, and then when I went to college and then came back, I was involved in my teachers association while I was teaching the whole 30 years, and then was asked to run for the legislature, ran for the House of Representatives, served 6 years representing Yuma County, and then as a member of the House, and then 4 years as a member of the Senate. And there were some people who were younger than I was that could take over those positions and run for those positions, and there was an open seat on the supervisors. So I decided it was time for me to stay home and continue to serve. So I ran for supervisor, and that's how I'm here.
You're not going to mention how much we beat up on each other while you were in the
We're not going to get into the personal history, are we?
Yeah, he lobbied
Too
me
long.
constantly.
This side has got a long personal history, so I'm not, we had Susan
What
when
do
he
you
started.
mean? I'm the youngest one here. So it's
Oh,
not that
excuse me, I
long.
forgot that this guy is the youngest one. He's a former mayor of Somerton, then ran for supervisor.
Yes, there you go. Yes.
All right, Susan, sorry that we were so rudely interrupted.
Now it's yours. There it goes.
Wait a minute, it's my
Tell them what your background. If the rest of the board wants to
Yeah,
speak
if the
to
rest of the board
children,
wants
go.
to get on with the personal history, this would be. He's fine. It's only the right side here that, can never seem to,
Notice we're always
really difficult to
right.
control.
Yeah.
All
right.
Susan?
I'm even on the
So
right side of the
just
left.
for the public's benefit, as well as the rest of the audience, the AVID students are going to go from here. They're going to go across the street to 197 to the county annex. They're going to hear from the county recorder, Robin Fouquet. They're going to hear from county assessor, Joe Worley, and they're going to hear from county treasurer, Angela Marino. They're each going to tell you about their background, what they do, and hopefully get you interested in pursuing those kinds of careers. Then they're going to go to lunch, and then after that, they're going to join County Attorney John Smith over at the Justice Center. He's going to talk about his job and what he does. Then he's going to turn it over to Michael Breeze, the public defender, who will talk about his position, and then Terry Capozzi, the legal defender. So that will round out their day, and then they'll head back to Gila Vista.
Wow,
So we're glad
great
to have
day.
them here today.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll learn more.
So I am impressed.
Mr. Chair, can Susan explain her background, where she came from? Can you do
Susan,
that?
I gotta get a, look, I have a flight to catch.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So unless you can delay it, we need to move. That was the reason the agenda was short,
The
people.
short story is
You
I
have
have
to
a
drive
bachelor's
machine?
in political
No,
science
I have
and a
to,
master's in
I'm
public
flying out.
administration, and I've been in local government, city government, city management for 20 plus years, and now I've come to county government, which is totally different, though two different things. So fascinating, both have a lot of different careers within the government itself. You can be in HR, you can be an attorney, you can be a CPA, you can do administration, you can do a lot of different things within county government or city government. So please consider those as a career, because it's really, you're making a difference in the place that you live in your community. So I hope you'll consider that. And enjoy the rest of your day.
That's it, huh? Oh, I'm an immigrant, right? I tell myself I'm an immigrant. I was born in Mexico, immigrated to the United States, became a U.S. citizen in 1981, ran for council in San Luis, Arizona in 1982, served as mayor for 12 years of that city, and then ran for supervisor and became a supervisor 20 years ago. So I've been in public service for a long time, and I'll tell you what, it's the most rewarding job you could ever have. And we could all go into why, but at the end of the day, it's going to be something that you have to get to and want to do, because it really isn't about the money. I was just joking, but we don't make that much money. It's about public service and being able to have an impact on other people's lives that is positive. And I hope you picked enough of that at this meeting today. Thank you very much for your patience, and have a great day. And that concludes the meeting today. Thank you very much.